This podcast is brought to you by the North Dakota Petroleum Foundation. Communities across North Dakota can see big possibilities for education, infrastructure, conservation, and more. The state's oil and natural gas industry helps make them happen. North Dakota Oil and Natural Gas, advancing the possibilities. Learn more at ndpetroleumfoundation.org.
Broadcasting live from the Miller High Life Studio. This is the Jay Thomas Show, 970 WDAY. The opinions expressed on the Jay Thomas Show are the opinions of the host, participating callers, and or listener emails, texts, and or letters, and are not necessarily the opinions of WDAY or Forum Communications. WDAY 970 AM and 93.1 FM invites you to make your opinion known. We pride ourselves on exploring all viewpoints on any topic.
Do you know who I am? I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal. People know me.
All right.
I'm very happy for you.
Hey, Thomas Show. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Hope everybody had a great weekend. And we'll get back into it. Well, we're going to try to toss on a bunch of topics this afternoon. We'll help you respond. I'm looking for Suki Jones, you crazy horse saloon. Ronnie, how you doing, buddy? How was your weekend, man? Really good.
Ronnie, what'd you do this weekend?
Do you know anything? Ronnie, if you folks don't know this, producer Ronnie, he likes to play in the kitchen.
I do.
Come up with some pretty good stuff, buddy.
I've been doing a social media deal since this whole thing started because, I don't know, I'm weird like that. But at that time I was doing it, I didn't know I was going to get hired back into radio. Well, now it makes perfect sense. But I've been cooking all different things from recipes, and this weekend's Pandemic Master Chef is what I call it.
Okay. You're putting these videos up on social media? Well,
just pictures of what I made.
Oh, okay.
And sharing the recipe so people can see what I made.
And how's that going over?
Very well. Very well. Getting a lot of positive comments. Well, unfortunately, I'm getting a lot of comments in a negative realm from people who made New Year's resolutions.
What are those?
To lose weight and to not eat fattening food like I'm making, taking pictures of. And because this weekend's project, I bought a couple of big loaves of French bread and took the middle of them out.
Yeah.
And made homemade meatball subs, as in the Italian dried seasoning, dried Parmesan, parsley, homemade actual meatballs.
Why did I ask?
So,
Alex made homemade meatballs this weekend too.
Yeah.
Do you do a little Italian sausage in with yours?
I didn't. It was
she did.
Mine was just ground beef, and I got rave reviews on it. So,
but
I can see Italian sausage working perfectly.
She mixes that in with the beef. That does all the other stuff, the crumbs and everything else. Rob Porter, you hang on the kitchen, Rob, or
I do actually.
Are you a food aficionado there, buddy?
Well, a few years ago, I got those blue apron kits because I actually wanted to learn how to cook better.
Hold on, stop! All of a sudden, I've just gotten a slug of emails. Ronnie, nobody can hear you. I'm talking to myself. So everything you said.
Now I've got you.
Oh, sorry. My God, we got to start this whole business over again. What did you do?
It wasn't me. There's been some testing of some things going on. I didn't notice.
Bring Dustin in here for a whipping, would you please? Yeah, all of a sudden I was like, what's going on with my emails?
Apparently my program wasn't on, I guess. So now it is.
Jay, you're talking to yourself. You're not talking to anybody. So we got to start all over again. We'll have Rob today, by the way, for 2 hours now.
Yeah.
So we're talking about, he's like to start Monday. How was your weekend? Ronnie he loves to play in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And you call yourself what? The
Pandemic Master Chef.
And Ronnie's he's just going to town, man. You've done Iron Range pasties. You're talking this weekend. You did meatballs.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say my story because everybody heard my meatball story.
I made potizza.
Speaking of meatballs.
Yeah, I made potizza for you.
Yeah, that's right. You did potizza.
This weekend's project was homemade meatballs subs. So I did 24 homemade meatballs, 2 big French bread rolls with provolone cheese and sauce.
I got to tell you, so Alex she makes her own homemade
spaghetti sauce, fresh tomatoes out of the garden.
Okay.
Her brother's garden, by the way. And then she adds all the things, red wine to everything else. The sauce is delicious. And then she makes her homemade meatballs, like I just said, with Italian sausage and all the other fixings you put in them.
Yep.
So yesterday, you guys, I had to run out here at the radio station to get some paperwork. And I said, you know what, hon? I'm going to swing by the grocery store. I'm going to grab a loaf of French bread. I'm just going to make meatball sandwiches out of your. And she just had, no, you're not. You're eating spaghetti just like the rest of us. You're not making meatball sandwiches. I love that you made meatball sandwiches, Ronnie.
Yeah, it was, and they were. I took the meatballs and cooked them up, did the sauce, did the provolone cheese,
And then ate them.
Well, and then I brushed the bread with extra virgin olive oil and crisped the bread. And
my own little Rachel Ray over there.
Yeah, it turned. It was from my girlfriend. She said it was really, really good. But
I bet. No, I've tasted your cooking. It's fantastic. No, Rob, I think people heard you. But you said you're kind of like to play in the kitchen too, huh?
Well, I do. And starting a few years ago, I actually subscribed to that Blue Apron. We get the meal kits in the box.
Yep.
And it's a little more expense than if you just went and got the stuff at the grocery store. But
isn't that cheating, Port?
It is a little bit. But I mean, for me, I wanted to be exposed to new foods and then to figure out how to cook them and stuff. So I was almost looking at it like a cooking class.
Oh, okay.
Because I had a few meals that I could make okay, but I wanted to get better in the kitchen, and that helped me. For a while, I did that for quite a while.
And now you just doing like Ronnie. I mean, Ronnie even makes dough from scratch.
I did.
I'm not quite that. I'm not that quite.
I'm looking to get the pasta attachments for my KitchenAid mixer, so I can make my own ravioli noodles, my own spaghetti noodles.
Lord. The cooking show with Ronnie, Saturday afternoons, live from his kitchen.
And I'm telling you, this kind of works in tandem with the Kiwanis Club, because this year they're doing the Fargo pancake breakfast virtually. And the way they're doing it is they're offering chefs from NDSCS and a couple of other entities, restaurants in town, that will show you how to make pancakes.
Hold on. Now what's wrong? Rob's got a really bad echo.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let me try that.
How's that, Rob?
See if that works.
That's a lot better. Thank you.
There we go. People in here pushing buttons. Why do they do this just before my show comes on?
I
kid you not, Port. I kid you not, Rob and listeners. Hey, we got to go fix some stuff in the studio. Jay's on in 10 minutes. Let's do it now.
I swear it was not planned that way, but it worked out that way.
They get back to lunch and just decide, what should we do?
Yeah, let's mess with Jay. Hey, Rob, how you feeling, buddy?
I am feeling really, really good. Okay. I did not use oxygen at all yesterday. Wow. Haven't used it at all today. That was a big step for me. I actually went out to the mall. I had planned to go out and just like walk around my neighborhood a little bit and just see how far I could get, but then the rest of the fam had a trip to the mall for some shopping and stuff, so I just decided to go out there with them and spent quite a while walking around the mall. A little sore from that today and a little tired, but otherwise, it's. I think at this point it's mostly just physical. It's just because I haven't been able to move around a lot. I haven't been getting a lot of exercise lately. So now I think it's just a matter of slowly getting myself more active and getting back what I lost. But as far as the lungs are concerned, I'm doing great.
Good. That's good to hear, man. Hey, have you been watching this at all today? I mean, we're talking again thousands of these migrants coming to the southern border. Have you been watching any of the footage or news on this, Rob?
Yeah, I've heard coming out of like Guatemala and stuff like that. And by the way, speaking of that, I mean we're going through a period where we have been over the last few years where people are talking about what a horrible place America is, and it's racist and it's terrible and everything.
Still the greatest country on the planet.
We still take in more immigration relative to our overall population than any other country in the world. We are still a place that people want to fight to get to and aspire to get to. So from a certain perspective, I know when you hear about these groups of people that are coming up to the southern border, a lot of people react to that with fear. And I'll grant, I mean, it's not a good situation, but boy, is it nice to know that we're still the country that people want to get to. And it's hard to blame other people who are living in places that aren't so good for wanting to come here and be free and find opportunity and find prosperity. I think those are still very, very good things. And I hope that we can deal with it in a way that's appropriate and everything else. But I think a lot of it is immigration very much reacts to, who's in charge. We had somebody who, over the past 4 years, we've had somebody in charge of executive branch policy that was very much a hardliner on immigration. that has changed. And perhaps not surprisingly, the people who might want to come here outside of our legal channels for immigration, which, by the way, should be reformed to be a heck of a lot easier than they are. But the people who might want to come here outside of it are maybe now seeing an opportunity.
Boy, is this ugly down in, I'm watching footage of this. This must be down in Guatemala. I mean, the police are not messing around down there with these immigrants. Oh, by the way, Ronnie, I just got a message from Dustin Moore, our operations.
We're supposed to send him a calendar invite for his schedule and for his whipping?
Yeah, so you get that taken care of. This place wouldn't fly without Dustin.
Well, Rob, I mean, I hear you mentioning, we had a hardliner on immigration and all that kind of stuff, but
which we need.
And I didn't necessarily mean that pejoratively, but yeah.
Okay. Well, but do you agree? Which, I mean, I do, but I want to see if you do. It doesn't matter to me that Trump's no longer in office and Biden's going into office. The reasons we should have been tough on immigration still exist.
Yeah, I subscribe
to just open the borders.
Yeah, we can't just open the borders. We got to be tough on it.
Well, I don't want to. And to be fair, by law, our borders are not open. The problem is that a lot of times the people in charge of enforcing the law, for political reasons and everything else,
they turn a blind eye.
They turn a blind eye to it. So
yeah,
I subscribe to what I've described. It's a tall fence with a wide gate.
Listen,
I think that immigration is a positive for this country, but it needs to be legal and it needs to be orderly.
That's right.
And we can't just have everybody who wants to sprint across the border or find their way illegally into this country. We can't have that. There needs to be laws, and their laws need to be followed. So, tall fence, wide gate. All
right, now. Before we go to a break here, then I want to get into because the craziness has started in Bismarck, Rob. We last week we talked about Representative Koppelman out of West Fargo. Matter of fact, I have him on today to talk about something else. But this whole businesses not being not allowing businesses to say no to cash in North Dakota. We talked about that last week. Some other craziness coming out of Bismarck. But I want to get to this, the Catholics fighting this bill requiring priests to report child abuse. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. But before we go to a break, I gotta, because I get crazy stuff from listeners too, haters. This thing that you posted, and I had to share it because it was hilarious. Was this person the last week that sent you, if you do not stop talking down on our president, I will have you in court so fast your head will spin. You are to, as of right now, cease and desist from talking about our president. If you do not, you will be taken into court. That is, I mean, really?
Yeah.
No, I don't know if somebody was. Hold on, I don't know if somebody was messing with you.
Oh no,
these are just somebody die hard.
That person. I don't want to reveal who they are, but
no.
That person has filed some other lawsuits, let's say.
Against you?
No, not against me, but other people that have made some headlines. So that person is, I have no doubt that they were serious. I guess if you want to sue me for being critical of the President of the United States, which, by the way, is the sort of speech that the First Amendment was created to protect.
Free speech.
I had to put it up there because it was just, I've been obviously my opinions on Donald Trump, I have been very crystal clear about them over the past couple of weeks because I am irate about what happened at the Capitol.
You have, I do get a lot of correspondence, messaging from people that just are. If you have Rob Port on anymore, I'll never listen to your show again. Yeah. Why? Because he's a Trump hater. Well, you know what? Rob's entitled to his opinion. I mean, come on, give me a break. But that's right. We now live in a society where if you have an opinion differing from somebody else's, well, then you're a horrible person.
Well, and then I had to laugh because my article today was my column today was people who are upset, all the Trump supporters out there. And listen, I think even I know you're a Trump supporter. Yep. There are people in the Trump movement who are making excuses for what happened at the Capitol. They're trying to minimize what happened at the Capitol. They're playing the game. Well, look at what these other people did. Is that justified what happened at the Capitol? And it's a little sickening. So today I said, hey, by the way, if we're going to talk about political violence, let's treat the violent anti-pipeline protesters the same way we treated the U.S. Capitol rioters because they're in the same category. Whatever their motivations, whatever their ultimate political cause, they have become so convinced of their righteousness that they think it's okay to hurt other people to get their way. And it's wrong.
Look, You cannot just go stormtroop a federal building. Sorry, the justification for it's the House of the People. Yeah, okay, it's the House. That still doesn't give you. You're messing.
That means
with
it belongs to all
building.
the people. That means it belongs to all the people, and you're in there screwing around, interrupting the business of the people's elected representatives.
Yeah, you just sorry. I mean, in the real world, that doesn't happen.
Let me put it this way. Anybody who went to the Capitol, if somebody kicked in the front door of your grandma's house,
what are you
they're going to get met.
That's right. All right, what do we got? 20 minutes after 2 o'clock. Jay Thomas Show, our weekly chat with Rob Port, standingblog.com, columnist, Forum Communications, and the host of the world-famous Plain Talk podcast. All right, Rob, when we come back, this has been a touchy subject for many, many years, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It's Senator Judy Lee. She's a Republican out of West Fargo, and, this has to do with priests reporting child abuse. And this is going to be a touchy one. We'll do it when we come back, Jay Thomas Show. Coming up at 3:05 this afternoon, Representative Ben Koppelman will join us. There's been an issue going on here in Fargo when it comes to licensed firearm dealers. And I believe at this time there's like 5, 6, or 7 of them in Fargo.
There were 7 as of May of last year. I actually just wrote a column about it that just went up. There was a gentleman he ran for city commission, Ed Kristosik. I'm butchering Ed's last name. Sorry, Ed. He went to reapply, to renew his FFF, Federal Firearms, FFL, I should say. And U.S. Marshal said, sorry, can't do it because there's an ordinance here in place in Fargo that they didn't even know about. And it was in place since like the mid-2000s. 2007.
Yeah. And this battle's been going back and forth because basically what the city of Fargo is doing is they're putting on tougher restrictions on gun laws, gun rights than the state of North Dakota does. And Representative Koppelman's like, no, Fargo, you're not going to do that. So he's got a bill he's introduced, and we're going to talk to Ben here at 3:05 this afternoon.
I like Ben's legislation, but I just want to point out what Fargo has done by my reading of the law is already illegal.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I mean, what Ben's legislation does, because he also adds dangerous weapons to North Dakota already has where the state of North Dakota can't or a local entity can't just declare an emergency and then go take people's guns.
Correct.
Like you still have gun right. So that statute already, he's adding dangerous weapons. But then in the section limiting the authority of political subdivisions regarding firearms, he adds dangerous weapons, but he also says may not enact, and then this is the part he adds, a zoning ordinance or any other ordinance. The problem, though, is that already the law reads a political subdivision, including home rule cities or counties, may not enact any ordinance relating to the purchase, sale, ownership, possession, transfer of ownership, registration, or licensure of firearms and ammunition, which is more restrictive than state law.
And am I correct? Didn't they ask for an opinion from Attorney General Stenjum on this?
And Stenjum
he kind of blew it off. Said,
Stenjum came back and said, City Attorney Eric Johnson said, the AG basically said, it's your job to be city attorney, not my job.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
it's
then,
like, really? Wait a minute. You're the Attorney General. That's what you do. Your job, Wayne.
But Eric, I think the city, because what Johnson has been arguing, telling the city commissioners, is that the Fargo ordinance is not more restrictive than state law. They're not putting a restriction on these transfers. They're just saying they can't take place in residential areas. And so they're choosing to define that as not a restriction.
But that is a restriction.
But that is a restriction because the state of North Dakota doesn't have that restriction. There's no restriction. I live in Minot. My city does not have that ordinance. I'm governed by state law. And if I had a federal firearm license, I could, and let's be clear about what's going on, because I think some people are making it sound like people are setting up like gun counters in their living room.
Yeah.
Let's be very clear about what's going on here.
These guys, this is basically a transfer business, is what this is.
So there, I mean, buying a gun is not as easy as people think.
No.
And if you buy one online or you have one shipped to you for some reason,
it
can't come directly to you.
Yeah.
It has to go to a federal firearm license. And so what happens is FFL owners, in addition to what the other things their license allows them to do, it allows them to receive those shipments. And so they charge a fee, and there's some, and there's some other stuff that they have to do to check out and to validate that transaction. But they basically charge a fee for being the intermediary. You buy a gun online, you have it shipped to the FFL person, and then in Fargo, what's been happening for these, 7 or so license holders is people just go to their house and pick up their gun.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So that's all that's happening.
But what gets me, Rob, are you have these commissioners that as soon as they hear the word gun, oh my God, the neighborhood's going to hell in a handcart. That's instantly what happens.
Do they not live in North Dakota?
Oh my God, I can't believe we got gun transactions going on in neighborhoods.
I think North Dakota is second only to Texas in guns per capita.
And these federal firearm license, these FFL holders, these guys are held to, or gals, are held to such an unbelievable standard.
Right, and
and if they do anything wrong, their butts in a massive sling with the federal government.
I'm sure that Representative Koppelman can speak to this more. But one of the arguments that Fargo City commissioners like John Strand, Arlette Preston, I think Dave Pepcorn is the other. Tony Garrick's kind of been the champion on the other side of this. But those three, their argument is well, this is the state taking away local control. Well, first of all, local leaders love to talk about local control when it's convenient for them. Mm-hmm. They like to blame everybody else for their problems when it comes time to take responsibility. So it's always local control and then distributed responsibility. It's amazing how they do that. But the other part of this is it's not really a local control issue. On issues like gun control, I don't think it serves us well to have the state of North Dakota be a patchwork of different regulations. So the laws governing your ability to own a gun or to carry a gun or in this instance to transfer possession of a gun, it shouldn't be a patchwork, right? And there's not a lot we can do about that from state to state, right? States are sovereign. But within the state of North Dakota, cities are political subdivisions of the state. I know Fargo likes to think of themselves like they're Sparta or something, right? There's some Greek city-state that can kind of do their own thing, but they are actually a political subdivision of the state, and they do actually have to follow state law.
Well, Koppelman's he's pretty confident that this thing is.
I don't think he's going to have any problems.
I don't think he is either. All right, listen, can you hang on or do you got to go?
No, I can hang on.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Hey, Ed, can you hang on? I'll grab you first when we come back.
Yep, that's
all right. Cool. Hold on. All right, we come back. Ed on the phone. We got to get to this. What is this? Senate Bill 2180.
Yeah.
Senator Judy Lee, Republican out of West Fargo. The story says of Fargo. She's West Fargo.
I think I messed that up. I always think Judy Lee's from Fargo for some reason. I have no idea. I've been doing that for years. So
she's West Fargo, baby.
That's my mistake.
This is going to be real interesting. I had no idea the North Dakota Century Code was set up the way it is.
It's actually not uncommon. A lot of states have that exemption. Yeah.
North Dakota Century Code, it lays out a list of occupations that must report any evidence of child abuse they receive, ranging from neglect to molestation. The law has, in North Dakota, an exemption for clergy. Wow. Senator Judy Lee wants to change it. We'll hit that and get Ed's phone call. We come back, Jay Thomas Show. Issues in your home, you've been putting them off for a while. Well, maybe your heating system not working quite right. Maybe you just need to have someone add an electrical outlet to your home. Well, whatever your needs, now is absolutely the best time of year to have ladies. Have them come in to take care of it for you. Through February, ladies, they're offering a 10% community give back discount on all on-demand service calls when you simply mention Giving Hearts Day. It is that time of year. In addition, here's a cool thing, ladies. They're going to make a $2 donation on Giving Hearts Day for every single service call completed from now through February 11th. And the best part is that you can help choose the local nonprofit organizations who receive Laney's donation. Just go to Facebook, like Laney's page and voting for your favorite local charity. Then on Giving Hearts Day, the winning charities in each category will be awarded the donation. Your home's going to be warm and so will your heart. For details and schedule your service call, quit putting it off. Call Laney's today. 237-0543. Laney's Nobody Does It Better. Before we get back to it here, do we start our new news format tomorrow?
I believe we start our new news format tomorrow,
Awesome.
which means our news department, Greg Neft, Kyle Cornell, will be doing our radio news with actualities and, it'll be great.
I believe the news, too, is going to be moved from bottom of the hour to right after ABC News at the top.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
and it combined
Awesome.
with weather in there. And
That's
stuff.
very cool.
So, yeah.
Hey, Ed, go quick or better yet, you want to wait till you want to call back when Representative Koppelman's on? If this
I was
is
just going to give you a little clarification on what the city's stance is that they can enact any land development code that they want to, regardless of what the state statute says for ordinances. They're not considering land development codes and ordinances to be the same thing.
Okay.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, this whole thing is ridiculous. And I believe you're the gentleman that started all this, correct?
I'm the one that brought it up, yep.
Yeah, because weren't you reapplying for your FFL?
Yes, I was renewing my FFL, but the deal is the ATF will not do it. They will not renew or they will not give you an FFL license with this ordinance on the books.
So now you're sitting with an expired FFL then?
Nope, I went and I got a business address in a commercial zone and I got my license, but it's a pain that I shouldn't have to deal with.
You shouldn't have to. All right, hey, I appreciate it. Again, Mr.
Yep.
Koppelman will be on at 3:05. All right, North Dakota Century, Rob Port, we're hanging out with Rob a little bit longer today, has a mandatory reporting law. North Dakota Century Code lays out a list of occupations that must report any evidence of child abuse they receive, ranging from neglect to molestation. The law has an exemption for clergy. The carve-out states a member of the clergy is not required to report such circumstances if the knowledge or suspicion is derived from information received in the capacity of spiritual advisor. Now you have a bipartisan group of lawmakers. They want to change that during this legislative session here in North Dakota. Senator Judy Lee, Republican from West Fargo, she's introduced Senate Bill 2180. Co-sponsoring it are two other Republicans as well as two Democrats. The bill simply removes the above exemption from the law. And Catholics, they're fighting this, Rob?
They are, yeah. So, and to be clear, if you read the law, and it's section 50-25.1 of the North Dakota Century Code, it's basically a long list of all the different professionals that have to. This is law enforcement officer, school counselor, child care worker, foster parent. There's all sorts of people.
Massive list, yeah.
That are considered mandatory reporters. Clergy is in there. A member of the clergy is in there. But the exemption, and it's my understanding of the way the statute was formulated, it was pretty aimed at Catholics and confession. The exemption is basically if you're acting in your capacity as a spiritual advisor. Now, that's not just confession. I mean, if you're in talking to your pastor about things going on in your life, and you drop some information about a kid being molested, then maybe that pastor's a Lutheran or a Methodist or something like that. Maybe they wouldn't have to report either. So it's spiritual advisor. But the Catholics are upset in the context of confession. And what I'm hearing from the Catholics, because I'm not a Catholic, but what they're saying is their faith considers anything you say in the confessional. A priest could be excommunicated if he speaks about that to anyone else. They are not supposed to break the seal of the confessional. Now, whether or not priests are following that, I don't know. The headlines are littered with priests who pretty flagrantly violated
around the world
their oaths. So who knows to what degree that's even being followed. But here's the problem that I have, and the reason why I flagged this bill, and the reason why it's important. I don't care what canon, what dogmas that the Catholic Church believes in. If you're an adult human being,
and you
find information or even have reason to suspect that somebody is hurting a child, molesting them or abusing them or neglecting them or what have you, you tell the authorities.
Exactly. How can you hold that in, or how can anybody hold that over you? But if you say anything, you're in trouble. I mean, give me a break. We're talking about a child being molested.
And people say,
nobody should be exempt from that.
And people they're signing me, there's this Catholic doctrine and you can be excommunicated.
I don't care.
The Catholics have changed their doctrine over the years. Right? I mean, it's like most recently, it seems like Catholics are starting, at least given some of the things the Pope's saying, they're coming around on gay marriage, right? I mean, they've come around on a lot of things.
Yeah.
They could change that doctrine. It doesn't have to be written in stone.
Let's see. Aaron in Castleton, Jay Thomas Show.
Yeah, Jay, hi.
Hey.
I asked Ronnie, I guess I've got a different subject.
Call us back then. Ronnie, you got to keep them on track, man. All right, so now you have, who is this? Is it Christopher Dodson, isn't he? He's a lobbyist for the Catholic Church.
That's right.
He's really pushing against this.
Yeah, so he was quoted in the Catholic Church has the Catholic News Service that covers faith issues important to their faith, which is absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Sure, exactly.
But he's quoted in there, and he's not happy about this. Here's one of his quotes. He says, "Given the delicacy and greatness of this ministry and the respect due to persons, the Church declares that every priest who hears confession is bound under very severe penalties to keep absolute secrecy regarding the sins that his penitents have confessed to him. He can make no use of knowledge that confession gives him about penitents' lives." Then he goes on and he says that he's surprised and greatly aggrieved by the legislation, and he claims, recently the Attorney General's office just released the results. Jay, I'm sure you saw the news of that 18th month investigation into the files of the North Dakota diocese about allegations of abuse, and he says, basically he's saying, well, the AG's office, looked into this and they didn't find. In fact, here I could read his quote. "The Attorney General of North Dakota just concluded an 18-month investigation of all the diocesan files and did not find anything of concern and nothing that hadn't already been reported by the two dioceses. And most of those cases of priests with sufficient allegations against them happened a long time ago." Well, that's not exactly an accurate description of what the AG's office found. They found 2 living priests who the AG's office says could have been prosecuted, but for the fact that the statute of limitations
right? Yeah.
And as far as the Catholic Church providing that list, they provided that list after the investigation had begun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, listen, first of all, there's a problem here where you have a religious institution saying we don't want our priests to have to report instances of child abuse. That on its own is problematic. But then you have that in the context of this larger issue of the Catholic Church, both in North Dakota, across the nation, and across the world, having an institutional effort to cover up instances of child abuse. So to me, I'm a little flabbergasted that the Catholic Church is taking this position.
Well,
I understand that it's a spiritual matter, and the seal of the confessional is very important to them, but maybe it's time to change.
But come on, if somebody's in that confessional and they tell you that they're telling you their sins, and they tell you that they've been molesting a child or know of a child being molested, come on, how can you, with any kind of conscience, go, oh, I can't let this out. I can't. And how can, as a church, you hold a threat over the clergy's head, saying, "Look, if you say anything, we're gonna kick you."
Yeah, can you imagine that? Why did you get kicked out? Why did you get kicked out of the priesthood? Well, I reported child abuse to the authorities.
Unbelievable.
To me, that seems like a pretty good reason to get kicked out. I would be willing to lose my job to protect a child.
I would too. Rob, what about lawyers or psychiatrists? That's from an emailer.
So that's lawyers. Psychiatrists kind of make the same argument, but they're talking about it as trained medical professionals saying, listen, somebody who may be thinking about engaging in child abuse or something, they may come to us and we can help them work through their issues because we're trained medical professionals. Okay. Priests, by the way, unless they've received medical training, priests taking confessional is not necessarily a trained medical professional. And as for attorneys, remember the U.S. Constitution guarantees you right to legal counsel. So if the state comes and accuses you of a crime, you're allowed to speak candidly to your attorney, and everything that you tell your attorney is protected under attorney-client privilege in order to protect that constitutional right to legal counsel, because how could legal counsel possibly be effective if everything you say to that legal counsel your attorney can be forced to disclose that to the courts or whoever? They can't be effective legal counsel for you if that's the case. So those are why those things exist. And by the way, the position of psychiatrist is controversial. Not all psychiatrists or psychologists agree with that. I just don't understand. The Catholic Church, A, they're not attorneys. B, they're not medical professionals. So I don't understand why on earth they should want an exemption to protect people who are abusing or hurting children.
Wow. You think this thing's going to make it?
I don't know.
This is a tough one.
It's a very tough one. I will tell you, North Dakota, California tried this not that long ago, and it failed there. And California is probably California's legislature is probably a lot less sympathetic to religious arguments than North Dakota's is. So I'm not sure how far this will go, but I will say, boy, the way the Catholic Church is going about arguing against this, man,
that doesn't look good.
Hey, how about you recognize a little bit what your church has been responsible for a long time?
Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't the numbers dwindling when it comes to? I don't know if it's just Catholic, but
it's
church
not
in
just.
general?
I think church attendance
all
has been
domination.
Trending down for a long time, and I think that's most or all denominations, but certainly Catholics among them.
And this does not help. Hey, hang on, Rob. We'll come back and wrap things up. If you want to comment, 293-9000, toll free 1-888-970-9329. Email studiotalk, wday.com, Jay Thomas Show. Okay, we're going to grab Roy in Lake Park.
Never before have I turned on you when you look too good to me. Your beady eyes that you cut me in two, and I just can't let you be.
We're actually going to do some fun topics this afternoon, too, as well. So, and Aaron, who called earlier, Aaron, now that we're pretty much off that topic, if you want, you can call in and ask Rob what you wanted to. We're just trying to stay on topic. But, Aaron, if you want, go ahead and call back. Roy in Lake Park, you're up, Jay Thomas Show.
Hey, I just wanted to give you a little insight. I'm a Lutheran pastor and mandated reporter.
Okay,
and,
so now I have
now I
have another official pastor of the Jay Thomas Show.
So if someone were to come into my office, and Lutherans do, not as much as Catholics, of course, we do have the practice of private confession. It's in the small catechism.
Yeah.
And I would tell somebody, that's something that I would have to report. Or if I'm talking to a young person who's being abused at home, if they said that, then I would have to say, yeah, well, I got to tell somebody. So that's something that we would do.
Roy, I just don't understand how you could sit there and say, look, you know what, with all due respect, we're clergy. We're not going to, in the Catholic Church, we're not going to report this or holding that over clergy's head that, basically we're going to throw you out of the church if you say anything. That's so wrong.
Well, they're trying to protect something very, very important, which is that people can come and actually confess their sins. And it's really, you have to really do some thinking to see how different it would be if someone confessed that they were beating their wife or had murdered somebody. And if you recall, maybe don't, but in the 50s, there's a whole genre of movies about priests who had heard in the confessional that someone had murdered somebody, and then they try to solve the crime. It was like a whole subset of how Catholic priests can still keep their oath and yet try to solve this injustice. So.
Wow.
It's not an easy road to hoe, but I think for many people who are more secular, they just can't quite comprehend what we're trying to protect with private confession, that people can feel free to completely unburden themselves. And it really doesn't have anything to do with medical expertise. It's spiritual care. It's we're not trying to psychoanalyze anybody.
But we're
just trying to let them unburden themselves.
But you, as a Lutheran, you have to mandatory report, correct?
Of course, and I feel that's the right thing to do. Yeah, exactly. But I understand where the Catholics are coming from with that.
But it's a child, man. I mean, it's a child. Roy,
I just really think the Catholics are in a tough spot, given the history of what's happened that we all know about, and then now they're trying to take a hard line on this. I mean, they might have more moral authority to take this position, but for what we know systemically throughout their church. I mean, this wasn't like a localized thing that just happened in Boston or just happened in New York or something. This happened everywhere.
Yeah, it was worldwide. Aaron in Castleton, you're up on the Jay Thomas Show.
Hi, Jay. Say, Rob, I hate to change the subject.
No, we're good now.
Go ahead.
We don't always agree, Rob, but I respect your knowledge and your opinion. Do you have a knowledge or an opinion of the Convention of States movement that is going on?
Yeah, that's been pushed for a long time.
What is it, Rob? For listeners that don't know.
Well, and there's been a lot of different iterations of it, but essentially what they want to do is they want to
talk show hosts that don't know.
They want to get together. Because it's about basically amending the Constitution, and so one way is that Congress can initiate that, and then the states ratify it. The other way is that a constitutional convention can be convened whereby they go through and they rewrite some of the Constitution. I'm not necessarily against, we do that with state constitutions. And we do that with the national constitution through the amendment process. We've done that through the years we have. Yeah. At the local level, we're constantly amending and updating statute. I'm not averse to the fact that our centuries-old United States Constitution, maybe some of the wording could be clarified and updated. The problem with convening, a state convention is, who's going to do the clarifying, right? Who's going to get? Well, and what happens if you have a runaway convention, and the next thing you know, the Second Amendment disappears, or we weaken some of our elections, our protections under the Fourth Amendment or something like that. So it's
correct. Well, Mark Meckler's the head of this, and they've got 16 states already on board. They need 34, and it's in the legislature.
When they say 16 states, I mean, do they have legislatures on board with it, or who do they?
Yes.
Okay.
8 legislatures are on board in 16 states, and they've got another 12 states where one legislative body has approved it. And they're specifically looking to term limitations and budget constraints.
I'm all for the term limits, man. I'm on board.
You're not painting a broad brush on the entire Constitution, and North Dakota has gone along with it already, as well as the other 15 states.
Okay, so that's the same one. I remember. I think a former state senator, Kurt Olofsson, kind of spearheaded that, if I remember correctly, North Dakota's version of that. But I don't know. My problem with it is I worry that it's going to turn into a can of worms. I worry that we're going to get there, and a lot of people who have very, very different points of view about the Constitution than our founders did, or that conservatives do, that we're going to rewrite the Constitution in ways that we may not like. Remember, the original Constitutional Convention that gave us the Constitution we have now was a runaway convention. They were only supposed to amend the Articles of Confederation, and they wrote a whole new Constitution. So,
hey, real quick here, Lyle, West Fargo, you got about 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jay. Hey, Rob, are you feeling okay after the COVID?
I am feeling good.
Good. I had a question. Have you done any research or writing on, right-wing groups in North Dakota?
In North Dakota specifically, I've done some reading. I haven't really done any writing. We don't have a lot of time. Email me your thoughts, rob@sayanythingblog.com. I'd love to hear them.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lyle. Rob, you doing a Plain Talk podcast?
I'm getting back into it. I had problems there when my lungs weren't working well, but we're going to be getting back into it and getting some guests here soon.
All right, fantastic. Always a pleasure. We'll talk to you next Monday, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jay.
News next, and then Representative Ben Koppelman, Jay Thomas Show.